So my name is Mackenzie Gector, and I am a sophomore at UNC Charlotte with a major in health systems management and a minor in biology. When I was 17 years old, I was at home working out with my sisters and my neighbors, and I went back to do a lunge and I popped my knee out of place. This had happened before because I played softball, and the first time it happened, I was rounding third base and I felt my knee go out. It didn't go all the way out, but it knocked me down. It went out to where it knocked me down. And I had to be in brace and crutches for a week, and then I was good to go. But this time I could tell it was different because this time I couldn't get up and walk it off like I could with the other one. It just felt numb. It was already getting huge, and I couldn't walk on it. My friends and my neighbors and my sister at first thought it was a joke, so they started laughing. And I think once they saw that I couldn't get back up, they realized that it wasn't a joke and that I was actually hurt. But this happened right at the start of COVID. And because of this, the doctors weren't really seeing what I was classified as non-emergent because I wasn't showing signs of COVID, So this prolonged the process of me eventually having to have surgery. And I fell into a bit of a depression when this happened because I had played softball for 17 years of my life. It was all I knew. And so for this injury to take me out of the sport completely, I was devastated. And I was upset with COVID coming around because it meant that I couldn't get back to what I thought what I didn't know my new normal would be. But 2 screws and a lot of physical therapy later, as shown in this picture right here, the screws are right here. I'm actually grateful that it happened because it allowed me to learn to enjoy life outside of playing softball. Showed me that there are other things in life that can bring not just me, but everybody happiness. It's crazy how in the moment we can see something horrible happening to us as such a negative thing that will forever change us, but then a week, a month, whatever later, we take a step back and look at it and we realize that maybe it was positive. Maybe it helped us instead of harmed us. COVID-19 is something that for many people, including me, has and maybe will always have a negative connotation to it. But what I'm here to talk to you today about is how COVID-19 maybe has actually brought a few positive changes to the way we live today. Ever since I was young, I always knew that I wanted to work in healthcare. I grew up watching, healthcare shows with my mom, soap operas like Grey's Anatomy, Chicago Med, stuff like that. I always specifically thought that I was going to work as a nurse in labor and delivery. As I grew up and kind of learned what it would take to become a nurse in labor and delivery, I still loved the idea of doing it, but I didn't as much love as much school as I was going to have to go to for it. So when I heard that my sister, who is a recent UNCC graduate, was majoring in something new, in something on the administrative side of still working in healthcare, I knew that that's the way that I was going to go. I didn't know for sure if I was going to go that way because I was still deciding between education and healthcare. But if I was going to go healthcare, that's the way I was going to go. COVID-19 was difficult to say the least for people in the healthcare administration field. It was such an unknown disease, and in 2020 alone, there were 186,101 cases of COVID-19. Because of this, healthcare workers were overworked and exhausted. This caused many healthcare workers to lose the passion that they once had for healthcare and eventually end up quitting, which is not good, obviously. This posed a problem for healthcare administrators because they were now not only responsible for figuring out how to handle COVID, but they were also responsible to find new people who would work during COVID to replace the people who got tired and quit. Another problem that was facing healthcare administrators during COVID-19 was poor patient outcomes. With COVID-19 affecting so many people in so many different ways, the outcomes of many patients that first came in with COVID were more bad than they were good. This led to the increase of reimbursement and healthcare cost. People stay longer in the hospital, the treatment, it's going to cost more money out of the hospital's pocket. These things, I think, are major things that led people to have such a bad idea when it came to COVID-19, because I know as someone who was 17 and didn't really know what was going on, I was turning to healthcare leaders to tell me, like, it's going to be okay, like, we can fix it, and that's not what was happening. They didn't know either. They were just people in it with us. In health systems management, we learned a lot about what different values we should bring to healthcare to be able to become the best leaders we can. We talked about different types of bioethics, such as benefits, which is doing good and promoting well-being. Non-malfeasance, which is preventing needless harm, and justice, which is fairness and treating people fairly. These bioethics are things that I think during COVID or before COVID we kind of took for granted. We just expected to go to the doctor and hear that we were doing fine. We weren't expected to be asked about if we wanted to get a vaccine that may or may not help us. So when COVID happened, I think it made us all have to take a step back and really reevaluate our morals and reevaluate like what really mattered to us. COVID-19 was a very scary time for, I could say, 99% of the world. Maybe there's 1% out there that it wasn't hard for. But I think we can all take a step back and look back at COVID and see who we were before COVID, and we can look after COVID and say we had changed for the better. I know that what happened to me and COVID-19 affecting my knee surgery, it made me really evaluate what really mattered and helped me learn that my family right here is what really mattered, and having that time just to spend with them and to sit and enjoy each other's presence is something that we took I took for granted. But I can definitely say thank you to COVID for teaching me that there's more important things in life than sports, than social media, than anything like that. Thank you.